Welcome back to Everything But the Lesson Plan, the podcast where we talk about the parts of education they don't always prepare us for. Today's conversation is about something every school feels, but very few schools actually design: the experience of being there. Because real leadership isn't just about people, it's about orchestrating people, process, and technology in a way that builds trust, culture, and community. My guest today understands that deeply. Marcus Wilson is a leader who just doesn't manage systems, he builds ecosystems. And today we're getting down to the real work of education, how leaders design culture that doesn't end at the classroom door, but extends into the community. Welcome to the show, Marcus. How are you?
I'm doing well. How about yourself? How you doing, Francesca?
Pretty good. It's been a long time. We used to work together, guys, so it's been a minute since we've, I guess, seen each other.
Yeah, exactly. It has been a while. I see we both grown tremendously, and I love what you've done in the education industry, and you're really doing some big things and making a huge impact with our youth today. So that is just, you're doing an amazingly great job with youth, whatever, and I really like watching what you've done.
Thank you so much. And so we used to be in corporate. I
Hmm.
was risk manager, and you were on the IT side. And
Correct.
now you have launched your own company. So give me a little history, quick history lesson on what you got going on right there.
Oh, okay. Yeah, well, the name of my company is Pivotal Impact Consulting. And yes, that was one of the not one, but that's a name that I came up years ago. I launched my company about 4 years ago. And it came where I just, to be totally honest, I was just tired. I mean, really, it came out of a fatigue of being in that corporate arena and actually having to work twice as hard just to get small things done.
Mhm,
And I had to step away because, to be honest with you, I got ill. The staying up late, the working
mhm,
60-hour weeks, the politics, the bureaucracy and everything that you go through. And the lack of, how can I say it, vision that sometimes leadership was having. So what I did, it really pushed me off into my own thing where I started to compare what companies did well and what companies didn't do well.
mhm,
And I came up with this whole framework called the mix method, based off of my compelling message: harmonize the mix,
mhm,
orchestrating the balance between people, process, and technology, much
mhm.
like crafting a hit song where all the components come together in perfect rhythm. And from there, I've got had a small client in Atlanta, and did a whole analysis with them, and that's really where I started my whole company there. And it just took off from there. I'm in the multifamily industry, but I'm also in other industries as well as government as well. So
Yeah.
this
And
has
and
been
our
great. Go
yeah, and
ahead.
our conversation today is just going to be talking about that human experience of schools and the systems and the processes and making everything flow. You said something that a book had popped in my head, and I don't know if you've read it yet. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
Good to Great. It's an old one, but it's a great one. You've
Mm-hmm.
read that
Mm-hmm.
one?
I've heard no, I have not read it. I've heard I heard some excerpts about it or whatever. Yeah.
Good read. Definitely, I think it applies to what you've got going on. And I like the book because even though corporate is my foundation, right? That's where I
Right.
started. But I'm now in education, and I can
Mm-hmm.
see some things that when I was in corporate, how things flowed and systems and processes and things worked, and that those same things can be applied to education. And that book, Good to Great,
Great.
talks about how some companies just stay at good and the
Yeah.
reason why and the things they're not getting right. And then it talks about those companies that move from good to great. And it's all about what we're talking about here, those processes, people, technology, moving things as we were talking about earlier with so
Right.
that it can be a rhythm.
Correct.
So, yeah. So let me
Yeah.
ask you this. What do you believe the real job, when you think of education, what is the real job of school leaders today?
I think, wow, that's a great question. I really think in, I'll say from K to 12, the
Mm-hmm.
real job of the school leader is to remove unnecessary friction from the system so educators can focus on what matters most. And that's the students,
Yeah.
and that means, that means this: protecting teachers' time and energy, designing processes that support consistency instead of confusion,
Yeah.
using technology as a tool for insight, not surveillance or overload. And
Mm-hmm.
the reason I say it's because my mom and my sister and cousins are all educators.
Yeah.
Next door neighbor, she's a principal back when I was back in Columbus, Georgia, where I grew up. But I have a family and a list of friends and everybody who are educators, and I'm telling you, they're all saying a lot of the same things, some of the things we're talking about. But when I feel that when leaders in education, when leaders do that well, the culture extends beyond the classroom.
Mm-hmm.
That's a big thing, the culture. It goes into the hallways, the front offices, the parent interactions, and the broader community.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And you know what? I like that you said using technology so that it's not used as an overload and creates additional work for teachers or teacher leaders, whomever. And I think that can be a challenge in education
Mhm.
because one, you know, sometimes we're very slow to adopt, and then when we
Mhm.
do adopt, we haven't vetted that system properly and we roll things out before we know that it actually works or is going to be a good system. And there
Mhm.
was something that happened this year where the state has made a few changes in this a space that I work at in education. And
Mhm.
I feel that. I feel this overload. I feel like it's a lot of unnecessary things. And the reason why the state rolled out a system without testing it out. A school, a district, they rolled it out to all the schools. And here we are dealing with
Mhm.
this and helping them fix it. We're building a plane and flying it at the same time. And it makes your job frustrating, you know?
Correct. Correct. And I'm glad you said that because that's something that happens in a lot of places, not just in schools, but in a lot of companies where leadership makes these decisions thinking that the technology is going to resolve everything.
Hmm.
And it doesn't because uh, the people, the environment that you're working in, and the processes are not necessarily together yet for that
Yeah.
technology. And the thing about it is that technology is only going to amplify the issues. It's not
Hmm.
going to fix
That's
it.
right. And so, with knowing that,
Hmm.
because in the educational space, sometimes keeping people is just a challenge. It's a revolving door.
Correct.
Because people get frustrated. The job is too hard. The things aren't working out. So, how do leaders create an environment where people actually want to stay, grow, and belong?
That's a great one. That the way that they do that, leaders have to create a culture that, how can I say, embraces change and supports one another through it. It's all about working on the experience that they're planning to deliver.
Yeah.
What is that? The overall mission of the school. What is the overall mission, the objective of the school? Who are we? How are we going to do it? And getting buy-in, what we do, wait, who we are, what we do, and how we're going to do it, and getting buy-in and feedback from the teachers, everybody that's in that school, not only school, but in the school system too. Um, so the experience part has to be, like I said, it has to be something that not only everybody buys in, but they have to deliver on that experience,
Yeah. Yeah.
and they have to create that culture
Hmm.
that buys into that experience that are going to deliver. And then the parents have to see that they're getting that experience, that this is the
Hmm.
experience that my kid had at this school.
Yeah.
instead of just coming in and taking tests and passing it and saying, this
Mhm.
didn't having a horrible experience. The I've always Most parents will come back and talk about the experiences they had at a school. You know,
Mhm.
the how could I say it? The culture, the communication, the process of getting in and getting out in the
Yep.
morning, that could be hectic
Mhm.
as well.
Yep.
PTA meetings, awards, grades, technology, communication back from the teacher to the parent. That's an experience.
Mhm. And Marcus, why does that matter?
Well, experience matter because people feel that if you're having a good experience, you're getting a good quality education.
Mhm.
It's all about quality experience, quality education. They feel they can trust
Yeah.
what's being delivered, you
Yeah.
know, because you say what you do, you do what you say you're gonna do when you're going to do it, you know.
Mhm.
And the kids learn from that because it's so
Yeah.
organized, it's so in order, and it's easier for them to learn when things are in line.
Mhm. True story. I want to just kind of, this is just, just all kinds of things are going through my head right now, but
Hmm.
experience um, and creating that culture where your parents trust you and your processes align creates a vested parent. And
Hmm.
that
Yes.
vested parent becomes the brand for your school, becomes
Hmm.
the spokesperson for your school, becomes that person that is in the park when everybody is, at the football game or whatever, and they talk about the what's going on at your school, and someone might have something negative to say, but this
Right.
parent knows there is something different happening at the school, and they're going to be the voice for you.
Correct.
I've had to do this several times with my current position. I'm the academy coach. And so I go out in the community and talk about our school and what we've got going on. And a lot of people don't know, right? And so
Hmm.
we used to do tours. We would have the community come in and tour the school and see what we've got going on because I think is in today's world
Hmm.
with social media.
Yep.
Social media can be good, but it can also be horrible for schools,
Yes.
right?
Yes. Yes. Yes.
You need those parents that are vested in you and that are happy and satisfied with what you got going on in that school.
Mhm. Yeah, and the leaders create that kind of environment by, how can I say it, designing for humans and not
Mhm.
just roles.
Yeah,
People stay where they feel seen, not just supervised. That's for
yeah.
teachers or whatever. And they grow where expectations are clear and
Mhm.
support is consistent.
Yes. Yeah.
Not just because somebody's watching, but throughout,
Mhm.
uh and they belong where leadership behavior matches leadership language. You
Mhm.
say you do what you say, and
Yeah.
that means listening without immediately defending. I
Yeah.
see that a lot in the school system. And
Hmm.
creating psychologically safety where feedback doesn't feel risky, and honoring the emotional labor
Yeah.
educators carry every day.
Yeah. So, for my leaders out here, for my teacher leaders and my actual teachers and parents and whoever, look, don't sleep on processes.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
It is important. I know you like, how's that going to raise test scores? It can. Okay.
Hmm.
You got to have those systems. You want people to want to come to work. You want them to be able to, have joy at their job. You want
Hmm.
students to embrace their schools and the parents.
Correct.
It's just all everything is this puzzle and it comes together and it works. So you want to make
Hmm.
sure your processes are laid out. Okay.
Correct. Correct. And that's a good processes play a huge part in all of this because it's like the drum beat, the
Hmm.
rhythm of everything
Hmm.
that's going around. Everything from the people to the technology or whatever. See, when
Yeah.
processes are unclear or feel unfair, culture absorbs the damage.
Yeah.
The culture
Yeah.
absorbs the damage. People stop trusting the system and they start relying on workarounds.
Yep.
hallway conversations,
Yep. You
survival
own
in, yeah,
it.
survival instincts. Because
Yep.
the consistency just disappears.
Yeah.
Stress increases. I know
Hmm.
my mom and they talk about this. The stress increases and
Yep.
decision making starts to feel what personal instead of principled.
Yeah. I love
You
that.
know.
Yeah. Okay. This is good. Okay. So let's move on to technology. Okay.
Okay.
This is your look. Your area that I met you in is
Uh-huh.
technology. Okay.
Right, right.
So let me ask you this. How should leaders evaluate technology through the lens of human experience?
Mm. The lens of human experience. That's a good
Mm-hmm.
one. All right. Well, I think leaders should evaluate technology by asking a simple but powerful question.
Mm-hmm.
Who does this make life easier for?
Mm.
And who does it make it hard for?
Yeah.
That's the biggest thing. It's the student, it's the teacher, is it everyone? I
Mm-hmm.
mean, technology should reduce friction, not
Yeah.
introduce it.
Yeah.
And a lot of times that happens. In schools, that means, and then so in schools, that would mean it must support teachers' workflows
Yeah.
and respect students' attention and simplify communication with the families,
Yeah.
not just overwhelming you know.
Yeah.
And if a tool requires constant workarounds, which that
Mm.
happens sometimes, when it requires constant workarounds,
Preach.
additional training without support or explanation every time it's used, it's not a transformation. It's a
Mm-mm.
tax on people's energy.
Yep.
That's
And that's
just what
what I'm
it
currently going through
is.
with this whole new state rollout. Okay.
Yeah. And, and that's the thing, the human experience, like you said, to the human lens, the human experience should always be the starting point, not the
Yeah.
afterthought.
Yeah. Yep.
We focus on just getting it in
Hmm.
rather than focusing on what's the impact this is having on the humans that are using.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
you know what? This brings me back to COVID. Oh
Yes.
my God. When we were doing too much with technology, it was during
Yes.
COVID. Okay. I will never forget when we were all sent home and then the kids had to get everything loaded on their Chromebooks and all of
Correct.
these different apps. And I mean, one student finally posted, he's like, I'm just trying to jump through hoops just to turn in an assignment.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. It
Mm-hmm.
was, and then I remember one district, like the cluster,
Yeah.
they ended up having a meeting and they were like, we just can't be rolling out all of these different apps for these kids to be utilizing. We've got to figure out what we're all going to use collectively. Let's vote on these three or four, and these are the things that we're going to use. But we can't have this teacher having 8 apps, this teacher having eight
Yeah.
apps, and that one's using 8 apps. And at
Correct.
the end of the day, I was so frustrated during that time. I was like, I can't download another thing, Alyssa. We just, it was just, and that's that human experience that we're talking about. And even
Hmm.
though we're not in COVID anymore, right? Well,
Right.
technically, but we still got to look at our approach every school year. What is your ask? What are you asking the teachers to roll out this year? How does
Right.
it disrupt whatever they had going last year? Is it really necessary? Is it going to change how the students do work, or is it just another thing to do because somebody else is doing it? You know what I'm saying?
Right. Well, that's a lot of times that's what it boils down to a lot of times.
Hmm.
It's the latest and greatest. We want
Yeah.
to be up to speed. We want our school to say that we use this technology as well, just because it works somewhere else. You know,
Yeah.
that happens in companies as well. But a lot of times, what is happening is that the schools are not necessarily aligning that technology with their overall objective of the school.
Hmm.
You
Hmm.
know, they're not, how can I say, balancing it out. What are our processes? Is this tool going to make it more efficient?
Yeah. Yeah.
Is it, and not only that, is it going to give us the data we need in order to make decisions on performance?
Hmm.
That's a big thing. Well, that's a aspect of technology now that you use. Is it going to provide any sort of data? that we
Yeah.
can track, record, that we can
Mhm.
get insights on a performance of teachers, students, or principals, or whatever action that we're using that tool for.
Yeah. So, when we think about that, that is one of my next question is about enhancing culture and destroying it using
Right.
technology. Is there any other examples besides what we just talked about where you can see technology being enhanced or destroyed? Well, culture being destroyed or enhanced by technology.
Uh, Sorry about that. Something just popped up on my screen. Oh,
Mhm.
okay. Okay. Well, yeah, repeat that again. I'm so sorry. Whatever.
You could. So when
Mhm.
we think about technology and
Yeah.
culture,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Besides what we just talked about, do you have
Hmm.
any other examples of how technology can either destroy or enhance culture?
Yeah. Gosh. Where it can destroy or enhance culture. Well, I would
Mhm.
say this. When technology is, how can I say it? When technology is being used to, how can I say, monitor
Mm-hmm.
people's performance, when we're using it as just grabbing, I know I talked about grabbing data, but
Mm-hmm.
sometimes we lose sight of, how can I say, outcome over output.
Mm-hmm.
We get so involved with the output of the technology that we just want to get numbers in, or things of that nature. And we're not looking and we're not measuring the outcome or the impact that it's having on the students or the teachers or the school itself. You know,
Mm-hmm.
we get so caught up in just measuring again data that comes out, how much, the quantity and the quality of it, but we're not looking at what is actually happening with sentiment from teachers,
Yeah.
sentiment from the students. So
Yeah.
in that sense, yeah, that's when too much technology, when you're relying on too much technology to fix things that require, how about when you're relying on technology to fix certain things such as sentiment, culture,
Mm-hmm.
objectives,
Mm-hmm.
and overall mission of where we're going and what we're trying to do, you're only amplifying noise and chaos that's already there.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, Good. We're coming towards the end, and I want to
Hmm.
kind of end with community.
Okay.
Okay. And this is where culture becomes a legacy if we can get the community invested in the school. And I just think this is so important, especially in your low income schools or
Hmm.
heavily minority schools, where it's very important to get the community on board with your mission and your vision of your school. And so when you think about that lens, how can leaders build ecosystems where students and families and the businesses and schools grow together, right? You
Hmm.
really need all of them to make it work and make it flow.
Mm. That ecosystem, that's a great question. I've always, Fran, oh, you're taking me back to when I was like HOA president almost, back when I was in Stone Mountain or whatever. And I always stated we we need to understand the difference between value,
Hmm.
quality, and value.
Mm.
You know, uh, when you put in quality teachers, quality students, uh, quality people, it
Hmm.
brings value to a community. The
Hmm.
value goes up. If
Right.
you notice that, our home values go up, the
Hmm.
value of life goes up. There's not a lot of crime or anything going, that sort of thing. So it's
Hmm.
about the quality of the individuals, but also the quality of the schools, the quality of the home that's built, quality of the commercial development.
Yeah.
So going to, as far as the school is concerned, when school culture reaches the community, the school stops being just a place students go and it starts becoming a shared responsibility. That
Ooh.
means the parents are highly invested in it because they know the impact that it has on the community.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if you ever see one of those schools that were really did well, A+ school, you see an ecosystem where the parents are heavily involved, the
Mm-hmm.
administrators are involved, the actual councilmen are actually involved because it's a school that wins. It's a
Yeah.
winning environment, and
Mm-hmm.
everybody wants to be a part of something that's winning.
Yeah.
And it brings value because people always want to flock to where they're winning. And if the
Yeah.
school's winning, the community's gonna win.
Yeah. I love that.
And yeah, it means that the values are, that so the values that are taught inside the building are visible outside of it.
Mm-hmm.
And how families
Love that.
engage and yeah, and how families engage and how local partners show up and how students carry themselves beyond the
Mm-hmm.
campus.
The
That's a big
school
thing too.
pride is beyond the campus.
Right, right. So a strong school culture doesn't end at dismissal, you know.
Mm.
Exactly,
Wait a
you know.
minute, sir. That's what I'm writing. Let me write that one down. That's what I'm gonna quote when I post this. Say that
Okay.
again, sir. Say that again.
I say a strong school culture doesn't end at dismissal.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, it shows up in the trust, the communication, and pride. We always talk about
Mhm.
school pride. And when that happens, the community doesn't just support the school, it protects it.
Protects the school.
hmm And that's when
Oh,
the culture becomes legacy.
yes. Okay. Well, I mean, that's it. That's the show. That is the show. Okay. Well,
Yeah,
thank you
yeah,
so much for this great conversation. I just think
yeah.
it's important. That's why my podcast is called Everything But the Lesson Plan, because I want to dig deep in the issues that are impacting so many of our schools across this country.
hmm
So, thank you for being a voice today, Marcus.
Absolutely. And I appreciate everything that you do for educating our youngsters and just providing content out there that people can really take nuggets from or whatnot. You've
Mhm.
done a great job with that. So I must
Thank
commend you
you.
on what you've been doing.
Yes. And so let me ask you this before we go. I'm going to
Yeah.
make sure um our listeners have your contact information. It'll be posted
Mhm.
in the show notes, but what is next for you? What do you got going on?
Well, I'll be going, well, right. Oh, gosh. I got something big going on right now.
Oh, I like
Yeah,
big.
yeah, yeah. And
It's
I
good.
can't announce it yet,
Okay.
but because all the details have not been worked out or whatever, but I'm really looking forward to it. That'll be hopefully next month. But I got a
Mhm.
couple of things, a software tool that I'm generating now that will help with recurring tasks, and that's
Mhm.
in any industry, any industry that you're in. And got that going on. And again, the big announcement is the big announcement. It's a popular speaking engagement that
Oh,
I'm looking at
nice.
being on. So this is I'm excited about it, but I can't just say just yet. But
Yeah.
look out for me.
Okay.
Look
Well, we'll
out.
be following you and wish you the best with your journey. And thank you once again for being on the show.
Oh yeah, definitely. And if anybody wants to reach out to me, I'm on LinkedIn at Marcus
Okay.
K. Wilson, and
Hmm.
my website is marcuskwilson.com, and also Pivotal Impact Consulting LLC.com. And my
Perfect.
compelling message is harmonize the mix.
Yes, I love it. And
Mhm.
we'll have all of that in the show notes.
Absolutely. Okay. Great. Great.
The schools that will thrive in the future won't be the ones with the most programs. They will be the ones with leaders who intentionally design belonging, clarity, and purpose. So, for every person who walks through their doors, you got to make sure that you are doing this. You are intentionally designing belonging, clarity, and purpose. And that's what this conversation was about today. And I thank you for the conversation, Marcus. And to our listeners, please be sure to share this episode. Until next time, let's keep thriving.